Long ago, say 25 years ago, some friends and I had this thought that perhaps the internet would be such a fountain of wealth and opportunity that it could be entirely open. People could essentially give away the fruits of their brains and hearts, and the opportunities that they would get in return would be huge. And unfortunately, I've come to believe that that was a huge mistake. As I look at the real world of musicians and writers and all, I see that it isn't working. I see that we're not finding these legions of new middle-class musicians who are making it without the studio system or something like that. We're seeing very tiny token numbers of people who can get a little bit of publicity for giving something away and then are never heard from again. And it's just not good enough. The idea of free and open access sounds good at first. The reason it's not good is twofold. One is that having everything freely accessible to everything else actually just creates this mediocre mush. People often ask me the question, we're drowning in information, there's so much of it, what can you do? And the usual geeky answer is, we'll build this intelligent software filter thing that will only give you the information you really need. And the problem with that is that artificial intelligence doesn't actually exist. We don't know what meaning is from a technical point of view. We don't know how the brain thinks from a technical point of view, so we can't make this software. So instead, we make this pseudo filter, like a search engine keyword thing, and then you're supposed to pretend that it understands you, and therefore you make yourself into a moron to make the software look good, and it's ridiculous.
You talk about this open system, and you talk about how this openness is actually very difficult to parse because you get mediocrity. But what I find online when I'm looking at community is that you have a cyber balkanization.
What happens when you have a global mush is people lose their identities, they become pseudonyms, they have no investment and no consequence for what they do. And whenever that situation exists, there's a sequence that I find to be in common, whether it's a jihadi chat site or a chat site about beach balls or pianos or anything. And that is that initially people aren't sure of what the pack is, and there's this sort of feeling out thing, and somebody tries to ridicule something else, and the people want to play it safe, join in the ridicule so that they're not the target. And gradually the pack forms, and you can tell a pack is formed by two things. One is an internal enemy, and the other is an external enemy. The internal enemy is the low person on the totem pole within the pack who is dumped on, who gets ridiculed. And this almost always happens in Facebook and in all the other. And then there's the external enemy, which is the group that's the other. And that's the balkanization, which is extremely severe. And what we have online is really a total lack of communication across those boundaries.
It's interesting that you bring up this idea of the pack mentality, because we see this in playgrounds. You know, we see this in other environments.
This is exactly the inevitable consequence of matching the human spirit as it really exists, our true biology, with this open mush environment. When democracy functions well, or when markets function well, what's happening is that the meanness in human spirit, the biological flaws in our spirit, are being precisely countered by structures. So I view democracy as the countering mirror image of biology. It's the thing that compensates for us as we really are, to allow us to act better than we otherwise would. And that's the thing that the internet hasn't done.
Can you see anything good that's come out of the open culture movement?
No. I think it's been a disaster. Everything that it can point to is either a nostalgic recreation or something that has existed in a far better form. Let me give you some empirical examples. If 30 years ago I had said in one of my talks, or if Barlow or Kevin Kelly or any of us had said this, in 30 years computers will be millions of times faster, and the great prize we'll have is a new Unix release and an encyclopedia online. And everybody say, that sounds pretty boring. You know, and you know, it's like the lessening of ambition. People have been so excited about the ideology that they don't notice the actual stuff. So, you know, it's incredibly dull. I mean, it's just, you know, but there's this idea, oh no, but it's this very special thing, it's so useful, but every little bit of it existed anyway. I mean, so I'd love to be able to say that there's some really great thing from the open culture movement. I just can't find it.
What about from the web in general? I mean, as a digital optimist, what would you...
I think the web in general has been this massive success story. I'm just incredibly enthused about the web. I mean, the web gave us the first empirical evidence that vast numbers of people really are creative, really do have things to offer, and really will do it, will really get their act together. I mean, the stuff I don't like is just the sort of the mob mentality stuff. I think that's a huge wrong turn, but the web and the internet overall are just incredible successes.